Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at a couple new models arriving for Sigmar. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Witness the arrival of the winged Knight-Azyros and the Abhorrent brood terror. The hour of ruin is here, and the Skaven tide is coming to drown out all hope of the mortal realms, in the wake of the catastrophic Vermindoom. The children of the great horned rat have burst forth in great swarmed and renewed malice in their twitchy little hearts. The Stormcast Eternals are on the front lines preparing for the oncoming disaster, with the soul-stricken members of the Ruination Chamber lending what may be their last life to the grueling war effort. There are dozens of new miniatures for both the Skaven and Stormcast Eternals in the Warhammer Age of Sigmar Skaventide launch box, with many more yet to come in later months. You'll be able to get a look at all the upcoming miniatures from one side early, depending on who wins the slaughter at Hel Crown Global Campaign. But as an early teaser, we've got two new miniatures to show you today. The hulking two-headed brood terror and the soaring brilliance of the Knight-Azyros, Tornus the Redeemed. So there's a little video to go along with it, but we're going to take a look at the full article. The Skaven's insatiable appetite for conquest is backed up by new horrors from the Clan Scryer and Molder, but there are still more verminous innovations furtively lurking just behind those green-tinted rents in reality, like the towering brood terror. Okay, so this thing looks disgusting. So it is basically a rat ogre with like a smaller partial like torso and head of another creature like sewn onto it. There's definitely some twisted like warpstone Frankenstein monster stuff going on here. It does still have like one of the new cannons from the rat ogres. It's got some kind of melee weapon in the background. We can see here like dragging some big metal chain behind it. Definitely looks pretty freaking disgusting. Nice looking model right here if you're into like the sort of grotesque body horror type thing. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but pretty cool nonetheless. Crimes Against Nature created the fetid laboratories of the clans Molder. These abhorrent colossi are part of the never-ending quest to create new, more cunning abominations. To create a brood terror requires sacrifice typically unwilling, as is the Skaven way. On the part of the master molder, and the gibbering head that still protrudes from the beast's neck is a living vestige of that unlucky donor. Okay, so definitely a twisted little creation right here. So from the back here, we can see it's got a pretty cool backpack. Definitely some steampunk action going on here. The sort of combination of mechanics and flesh. Very cool looking, lots and lots of detail, tons of different textures on this model. Looks like it would be really fun to paint if you're into this type of thing. We also can see like the second glove right here with the chain dragging behind it and then a couple big hooks. Very cool model. Definitely tons and tons of detail. Looking forward to seeing what the community does with the new models coming out, as there is a lot of potential. Sometimes the master molder personally survives the grotesque melding, steering the beast towards specimens of interest, but the majority of its brainpower goes to helping the brood horror wield all of its weapons in terrifying unison. These ungainly behemoths crush foes with giant rusted flails, blast them with warp flame scourges, and dissect them with horrid flensing knife limbs. But not all hope is lost, and there's light in the darkness. In their efforts to more effectively scour the blight of chaos from the mortal realms, the Ruination Chambers look to the Knight-Azyros, winged warriors to carry the radiant starlight of Azure in their sacred lanterns. Wherever this light falls, it illuminates and incinerates, driving out corruption and allowing Sigmar himself to see the darkest corners of the mortal realms. Alright, so here we have the new Knight-Azyros. So we see that they have kept like the lantern. We see the new style of wings. Tactical rock giving him like the floating / like flying look. So they've kind of gotten away from using like the banners and parchment as like the flying stuff, and now they're leaning in a little bit more on like the tactical rocks and stuff like that. I do like the effect. I think it looks good. So he has a huge spear, definitely pretty awesome. We see a couple of options for a bare face and then also helmeted as well. Really nice detail on this and much more of a clean look, specifically in contrast to like the degenerate looking Skaven. We can see how they've picked out all of the intricate stuff here on the armor. The actual lantern with like some OSL effect is going to look really cool. I love the ruins on the swords and how they've been leaning in on that. Overall, just really nice looking model right here. I do like the new style of wings where we have like the more mechanical looking wings and then sort of like the smoke / flame coming off of it. They've done a really good job with like the cool glow effect to kind of separate the two. Very, very nice. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now, back to the video. The kit can also be used to represent Tornus the Redeemed, a legendary Knight-Azyros with a long history that began in the early days of the Age of Sigmar. Originally a proud and indomitable warrior from Ghyran, he was captured by the servants of the Plague God. They trapped him in this disease-ridden oubliette for 77 days and only released him after he agreed to accept Nurgle into his heart. While leading the Maggotkin of Nurgle on a campaign of desecration against his former allies and taking the name Turglog the Despised, he was poised to stand triumphant over a combined Sylvaneth and Stormcast Eternals force before the Celestant Prime purged the corruption from him and Gal Maraz, and gave him a chance of redemption. So he was captured, turned to the gods of Nurgle, and was corrupted, and then he was redeemed by a Celestant Prime, and now he is back fighting for good. We see also an alternative paint scheme on the second one here where we have like the yellow wings. And this is another one of those cool kits where you can basically build either the regular generic character or the special character, which is always nice. And alternatively, we have like similar models from like the previous range, which could easily be a stand-in for this guy if you're not into picking up the new stuff or you already have a nicely painted version of the old one. So very cool. I think there was a lot of people that were worried a lot of their old Stormcast models were going away. They weren't going to be able to use them. But now as we see the range developing more, it's very clear that you're going to be able to use the majority of those models as either direct replacements or potentially like stand-in proxies for something similar. But I think for most people, they're more excited for the new look as the models have come a long way over the last like 5 to 10 years from when most of the older Stormcast stuff was originally introduced. Joining the ranks of the Hallowed Knights, Tornus fought long and hard as the Knight Venator to prove his worth to his new allies, and through this tireless efforts has become a Knight-Azyros, taking the name Tornus the Redeemed, and vowing to continue to spread Sigmar's light and vengeance far and wide across the mortal realms. Alright, so here we see a back picture. I know some people were saying that he didn't have legs, but clearly we can see he's standing on the pillars. You can see his feet right here. I really do like the new style of the wings. I think the first paint job was definitely cooler in my opinion. But once again, we see a lot of cool textures on this model. I do really like the blend of like the mechanical wing parts and then also like kind of the fire or flames coming off there. I think the ghost flames looked really cool with the transition from like the two different colors. But even the yellow right here looks really cool as well. Again, we see a different angle of the spear. Awesome, awesome weapons on the Stormcast. Really cool models. There are many more incredible new Warhammer Age of Sigmar miniatures to come, so be sure to join the Slaughter at Hel Crown Global Campaign to decide whether you see the scheming Skaven masses or the gleaming Stormcast Eternal host first. Okay, so if you haven't caught it already, there is a campaign that will go on with the launch similar to what they did for Leviathan. Everybody who buys one of the new boxes can basically log on with a code, say if they won more games with Order or with Chaos and the other factions, and then whoever gets the most votes or wins the most games, at least in theory, we'll see that range released first. So we'll get the preview of either the Skaven or the Stormcast Eternals, and then the second one will come a little bit later. Now in general, and this is just what's happened in the past since the beginning of time, whoever Games Workshop wants to win, whoever their poster boys are, so basically Space Marines and Stormcast Eternals, never wins. So I fully expect after the Tyranids won last time, after the Space Marines were defeated in previous iterations of this, I totally expect Chaos and the Skaven to rule. So we'll see what happens. Make sure to get your votes in if you do pick up the new box set. I'm super excited for this. We were actually just talking yesterday at our campaign night just about how pumped everybody is to do our escalation campaign for Age of Sigmar, about the new rules, about the new models, and I can definitely feel the excitement building. We have never had like a massive following for Age of Sigmar locally. We have quite a few players, but it's definitely never been on anything on the level of 40K. And we are definitely seeing that ramp up. So I'm excited to see where this new edition of Sigmar with the new launch box and the future holds. So let me know which side you think is going to win, what you think of the new models, and how excited you are for the new edition of Age of Sigmar 4.0. Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. And as always, special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the channel. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on Games Workshop products. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I am pumped. And I'm also out of here.